What have I succumbed to? What have I decided that certain values and principles are going to govern my life? What have I allowed to take root on my emotions and the way I deal with things? And as soon as we do that, we start realizing what the major man in personal development, the late Jim Rohn, realized when he said, for things to change, I have to change. He realized that nothing else on the outside have to change. Nothing has to change on the outside, but you need to change in order for things to change. I remember the words of TD Jakes. He was saying, it's not the movement of the clock that brings newness in our lives. In this time of COVID, in this time of issues, it's not the movement of the clock, but the movement in our mind, which can bring newness in our lives. He said a new life comes from a new way of looking at your life. Adding on the words of Les Brown, who said, when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at changes. When we change the way we look at ourselves, when we change the way we understand ourselves, when we change the limitations we have placed among ourselves, when we lock into a great massive awareness of who we are as individuals, things begin to change. Now ask yourself a question under this point, massive awareness. What do you possess today that we don't know yet about you? What skills, what expertise, what breakthroughs, what experiences, what knowledge, what encounters do you possess today that can be a kickstart for you to start reinventing where people look at you? Because you are the person who introduced the brand you are to the people. And if you don't look at yourself well, they might not know about you. So let's go to our second point quickly. Our second point in understanding what I thought about when we talked about reinvention and looking at personal development as a foundation, as a Kickstarter to reinventing yourself. The second point is internal communication for growth, creating intentional communication for your growth, creating internal community for your growth. Sorry about that. Creating internal community for your growth. Yes, we want to grow. Yes, some of you are aware of what you possess. You have gone through to explore your potential. But now you are not mindful about the environment in which you want to give birth to this baby you managed to find in yourself. Some of us, we have premature death of our dreams because of the environment we have succumbed to, the community of people that we have allowed to have a say about what's possible for us and what is not possible for us. And therefore, every day we walk with heads. Look, I could have become that, but so-and-so stopped me. Look at what I could have become if my mother said yes. Oh, look at the project I could have started if my boss said yes. Oh, look at the educational program we could have started if my headmaster said yes. And then we carry around still bears of our dreams because the environment, we have taken it as it is. I was making a presentation some few weeks ago about becoming a person of value. And one of the things that people of value, they do is that they refuse to accept things as they are. Oh, we do things that way. They don't succumb to the status quo. Many people today, they are excellent and amazing employees, but they have killed their amazingness because they try to reduce their light to the environment they find themselves around. They try to speak as high as the person in the room can speak. They try to negotiate as deeper as the people in the room will negotiate. They try to dress up as long as it's not better than other people in the room. And therefore, they go around dying like what? Like chickens, while they are eagles. So every day, we want to be mindful. The world has opened doors for us to reach wherever you want to reach. You can decide today that from now onwards, I am going to be part of this community and nothing else. And I can keep on growing and improving my surroundings because I am aware that whether I like it or not, I am becoming the people I surround myself with. I am becoming more like the people I spend most of my time with. How many of us today, we could be somewhere, but we are stuck somewhere because of someone? So be mindful about your environment as you reinvent yourself. Because whether you like it or not, sooner or later, you will start dimming your lights. You will start tiptoeing, avoiding to cause a scene, avoiding to be seen, just because people around you are saying, oh, you are too much, my brother. You better be too much or be nothing. Because every day, we need to re-audit our community, intentionally create a community to support the vision in your mind. So that even when you walk with confidence, people say, oh, what is happening? The happening is in the mind. It's the movement in your mind that is telling you, I am going somewhere. Let me go to my last point. Let me go to my last point. My last point for this, evening, ladies and gentlemen, is transition into a value-orientated entity. Be intentional to transit into a value-orientated entity. You are a business. You are the top. You are the supermarket. You are the best of the best. Be intentional on the transition into a value-orientated entity. You are an entity. You are something that people are willing to buy. You have so much you can become. I'm aware that most of us are teachers, and teachers can become anything. Because one gentleman said, the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who can write or read, but those who can learn and learn and relearn. Now, when you are mindful of that, you know that yes, we have been teaching this way. Yes, we have been doing things that way. Yes, I've been dressing this way. Yes, I've been selling at this price. Yes, I was only making for my class, but I can do more. I can become more. I can expand myself. Every day, we are mindful that we can transit into a value-orientated entity. Here are some of the questions that people ask themselves when they are value-orientated. Every day they ask themselves the question, what can I introduce? What can I change? What can I improve? What can I refine? What can I change? So you are mindful every day that there is still something that may not have been done, but you are willing to do it because you know you can introduce it. In my closing, I may say this: value was attached to your life. God, the God that I serve, I know He did not create you to add numbers. So that when people count your population in Nigeria, in Eswatini, in Ghana, in everywhere you are, then they said, oh, we have 100 people. When you count people, you are counting value attached to those people. And therefore, when you are mindful every day that you are an entity awaiting to blossom, you are a tree awaiting to bear fruits. You are a business awaiting to multiply. So every day now you are mindful that there's something you can do. Always, my dear friends, practice culture ed. There are places you have been to, people you have met, information you have read that we didn't read, and you can give yourself time to share with us, and that is culture ed. Never allow yourself to be silent about issues you know about. Never allow yourself to be silent about the things you can change. You are always at the right place at the right time. You can decide any time of the day today that you can change things, you can improve things, because you can become more. Today, I want you to say on the comment box as I close, may the real Mumpuliki Makwana please stand up. But there you put your name and say, may the real Taiwo please stand up. May the real Mbolaji please stand up. Just write that and let's make this happen. Thank you so much. You can follow me everywhere available, the same name, Mumpuliki Makwana.
Thank you so much, Mumpuliki Makwana. You have fired us up, and we cannot just sit still. It's been that's such an amazing talk that we have had here. I'm sure that we're going to come to you with a number of questions. We'll quickly go to our next speaker, if you don't mind, because we're running behind time. I don't know if Miss Kenny Ogunkoya is available now. Miss Kenny Ogunkoya, are you available now? Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Okay.
Technical.
Okay, fine.
Can you share the video now? And then Miss Kemi Ogunkoya, are you available right now?
Okay. No problem.
Okay, we still have a bit of a glitch
Okay.
with the.
Yeah. I
It's
guess
fine.
we'll just move on and see what will happen. Miss Kenny is not available quite yet, so we're going to move to Mr. Melville Temlet. Are you ready? I can't
Coach
see you
Mel.
now.
Okay.
Yes, I'm ready.
Mr. Melville, okay, so I'm going to read your bio before you come up. Melville Leonard Temlet is the executive head, Curo Hillcrest. In 2011, his school, Hillcrest Christian Academy, was a pre and primary school that became part of the Curo group when he looked to developing a high school and found that Curo's values aligned with theirs, and so they were eventually bought out by them. He remained as the executive head and transitioned the school through the next 8 years. In 2019, he was then offered a position within the Curo group to join Mr. David Van Emily in training heads of Curo schools on the Gallup material in order to develop heads and high potential staff. He was trained as a coach on the UCT course and subsequently completed the Gallup Strength Finder course. He now moves around South Africa, visiting Curo schools, developing staff and leaders through individual sessions as well as running workshops for the senior management team in each school. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please make welcome Mr. Neville Temlet?
Great, thank you so much. Bo and Taiwo, it's really a privilege, a blessing to be part of this chat and part of influencing people in their walk in the teaching profession. So I really have thoroughly enjoyed my 40-odd years in education, starting in the classroom and having worked into the place where now I'm able to move around schools and train heads of schools, heads of departments, staff, and have found this opportunity and the time to engage with you folks on such an amazing title, Reinventing the Teacher. It kind of cuts right to the chase, because I think in the global transition with the COVID, that has really been an epidemic that has really taken the whole world by storm, we have had to reinvent ourselves dramatically. And I was thinking through this, I've been pondering it, I've been researching it, I've been using all the resources I can find to add value to this conference tonight, because I walk in the corridors with staff and I see what's going on in the workplace and seeing how some staff are so way ahead of the pack while others are still so far behind. And often ask myself the question, what is the difference between those who are staying relevant to the needs of the community and global trends versus those who are still of the old style? But I guess it comes down to really the challenge that we have in this setting. Are we prepared to reinvent ourselves and move with the changing times and move with the changing environment that we are faced with? And I like to challenge our staff to be asking them, when you get up in the morning, can you be asking yourself, can I be a better teacher today than I was yesterday? And therefore that invokes in me a question to audit myself, as Mr. Makwana was sharing and encouraged us to do, is, am I moving forward? Do I need to change some of my mindset? Do I believe in myself to be the best person in the classroom for those learners, or in my role in leadership, or my role as a head? And what am I doing to make a difference? How am I developing, influencing, and shaping other people's lives? So, of course, I read a book some time ago from Simon Sinek, and he wrote a book saying, first ask why. So the first question is that I love to ask teachers, why do you teach? And often that does invoke a personal response of, I love children, I love being with people, I'm a people's person. I've never once heard somebody say, I teach because it's for the money. Because the money is not the same in the industry as it is in all the other industries in the business world. It is a real call to teach. And I think if people have come to the place of, I am called to teach, then they are prepared to reinvent themselves. If their calling is there, they are innovative, they strive to be the best person they can be in their classroom, they strive to take on the new norms and change the way they think so that they can deposit that into the lives of their learners. So it's very, very important to first get through their first question is, why am I teaching? Not about how am I teaching or what am I teaching. It's my first call, why am I teaching? And once you've answered that and you can really say, I am in this because it's a call from God or it's just a call from within me, then the rest kicks in. The how do I teach and what do I teach? Anyway, Simon Sinek goes on to say, the why is you at your natural best. So if you've ever done a Strengths Finders course, which there are many on the internet, just to identify and pick up your strengths, that's what often gives people the confidence to believe in themselves and to develop their own brand of what kind of teacher am I in that classroom, so that I have the confidence to teach what I teach. I have the confidence to stand in front of all those learners, or in front of staff, in front of parents, in front of my community. And I'm confident in what I'm doing because I believe in myself. I believe in the call in my life to be who I am. So I think once we got through that and I'm teaching and playing to my strengths, that's when you become the best you. So reinventing yourself is understanding those strengths that you bring to the team. And I love the course I do with our staff, because when we do a strengths course with people, it's not about what are the best strengths. Your strengths are your DNA. It's you are that individual who brings those gifts and talents to the table, and everyone else has so many different ones. So if you can combine yours and theirs together, it takes your school, your university, your institution to the next level when you complement each other's strengths. So that is discovering your strengths gives that confidence to be the best you and to reinvent yourself to be that person in the classroom. But I love the word we have in South Africa. It's called Ubuntu. And Ubuntu is a word that there's a number of different interpretations to it, but one of them are you become who you are because of others. And I like to say to the staff that I have these courses with, who's in your boardroom? Who's shaping your life? So if we're expected to be developing and influencing, shaping the learners and the people around us, who's shaping me? And I do challenge people to say, you need a boardroom being who's in that boardroom. Is it your mom? Is it a close friend? Is it a pastor? Is it the head of the school? Is it somebody that you respect and honor? But who are you allowing to speak into your life so that you don't become stagnant and that you're always having to be challenged and reinventing yourself to be the best you? So that's one of those things we talk through. But I like to take folks through, and you can see this if you look it up on you can Google this, called the Johari window. And the Johari window gives you 4 quadrants. And the 4 quadrants are, the first one is like your open area. It's who you are in your balcony. How do you come across to people? How are you perceived by everybody? It's kind of your strengths on display. It's your brand. It's who you confidently come across as. So the open area is you as you're known to others, as they know you. But then you have the next quadrant called your blind spots. And your blind spots are the way you come across, but you don't know you're coming across possibly negatively. And if you don't have this boardroom, which could consist of your colleagues, particularly, you should have a colleague in your boardroom who can speak into your life and encourage you and help you reshape yourself or reinvent yourself, you tend to go on doing the same things over and over again, and you could frustrate those that you work with. So often the reinventing yourself is to allow yourself to have blind spots exposed and to be transparent so that people are able to speak into your life. You're able to make some transitions so that you become a better you. Of course, the other quadrant is called what we call a hidden area. It's those things you know that you are good at, but nobody else knows about it because they're hidden. You haven't brought them to the fore. So by having this boardroom, you again have people who can talk into your life and encourage you to bring out the best in you. Well, there we go. It's already come up. Thank you for that, for picking it up. And then the last one is the unknown area. It's those things about you that are unknown to you and unknown to others. And so by discovering your strengths and bringing them to the fore, you try to get everything up into the open self, the open area. The more you can expose yourself in the open area, the more relevant you are, you reinvent yourself, you become a better you to those you work with. So I would really encourage you to have a look at that Johari window and assess yourself through that window. But in this whole process of reinventing oneself, I know, and I'm talking really to teachers now, I'm coming right down to, again, the ground level. I often like to think of how have you as a teacher reinvented yourself from the old style the chalk and talk teacher. From the good old blackboard days, how far have you progressed into global trends? So are you a global teacher, or are you still stuck on the old conventional ways of teaching? So I know we're moving to a bit of what we call the methodology, but I do think COVID has certainly course, teachers have to reinvent themselves in the method in which they present their material. And also, I realize that the curriculum and the material present is not always what you have to interpret. It's often passed down to you by your education department or the Ministry of Education. However, if you are in touch and in tune with your community, you as a teacher have the privilege to reinvent that curriculum and bring it to life so it's touching the lives of children. So it's interesting on a continuum, if you had the chalk and talk teacher on the one side, on the opposite side, it would be the teacher who is now exposing the children to the latest trends. In other words, the new classroom, what should it look like? And that might be a challenge according to finances, budgets. It might be about whether you have internet connections, but certainly I think in the global family we're in now, we still have, and even in South Africa, we have still the chalk and teach in the classroom. And then on the other extreme, we have the teachers with a laptop, we have a projector, we have no longer is the teacher the source of all knowledge. Google is the source of all knowledge. So the teacher moves into a position of facilitation. And the 4 C's that we often bring in is, have you reinvented yourself to allow the children to explore? And the 4 C's we talk about is the creativity, is there collaboration in the classroom, is there communication going on, is there critical thinking going on? I've added a 5th C called curiosity. Have you reinvented yourself into 21st century thinking skills that bring these items into the classroom? So no longer are we as teachers the source of all knowledge. We need to facilitate training that allows the children to explore and understand themselves and develop a self-confidence that they are self-assured. And let me just share this thing about self-assured, because I think it came out a little bit in Mr. McQuarn's sharing with us earlier. But globally, self-assurance is one of the least strengths that you find in the community. People don't believe in themselves, or they're not confident in who they are. And it's not about them being humble or being arrogant anyway. It's just often people don't believe in who they really should be. So they come across on the back foot and apologetic in who they are. And so this self-assurance you're trying to create in children is not to make them arrogant people and have pride. It's about believing in who you are as God has created you to be, with your strengths, with your abilities, that you can make a difference. And it's not always about the academic progress of a child in the classroom. It's about the whole being. You have to help that child reinvent himself as a being in the classroom. So there's an encouragement, and I know teachers are generally in this game because they love the people they work with. They are people orientated, they are socially orientated, and they love to see the greatness in every child coming out. But please remember, if you're a teacher, it's not always about the academic performance and getting the ducks of the school to the top. It's about bringing every individual with their strengths and their weaknesses through a process that those children or learners come out as confident human beings, believing in the very nature of who they are, so that when they go into the workplace, they are curious. They have the confidence to take risks at things. They don't believe they will fail. If they fail, they prepare to get up and fail forward, as John Maxwell wrote in one of his books. And then the last thing I want to share with you is that this reinventing of the teacher, I think it also comes from the other angle of leadership. So if you're a head of a school, head of a department, it's so important that you are also feeding into those that you lead and encouraging them to reinvent themselves. So there's a book that's been written, and it's about the changing demands of the workforce called It's the Manager. And in the book, it talks about what the past looked like versus what the future workplace looks like. In fact, what the present to the future workplace looks like. So if you're in leadership, you should be encouraging your staff to come to work, not about their paycheck or their salary, but because they come to work for their purpose. And if everybody can get out of bed in the morning and know why they go to work. Why do you teach? And do you get out of bed in the morning and go and do what you do best every day? That's the purpose. So if you're in leadership, you should be encouraging staff to reinvent themselves, to think that way. If it's about my satisfaction, that's what it was in the past. No, it's now about my development. How are we as leaders developing staff so that they can be the best they can be in the classroom? It's no longer I'm the boss, it's I'm actually your mentor. I'm your coach. I want to have ongoing conversations with you. It's no longer about an annual performance appraisal that you should be having with the staff that you see once or twice a year. This is now having a developmental appraisal system where your staff are being developed to be what the latest trend should be, that there is coaching and there are courses, and you're walking the road with them, that you're making this reinvention a lot easier for them too. And now it's no longer focus on my weaknesses, focus on my strengths, get the best out of me, that I can be the best to those that I teach. And then this is not about a job I'm in, this is my life. I give myself from whatever, 7 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. And those who believe that teachers have a half-day job, yes, we say it's half the day and half the night they work. So I would encourage you that you never stop reinventing yourself. Every day when you get out of bed and you come to work, can I be a better person today than I was yesterday? Thank you. That's what I'd like to leave on the table for you all to consider.
Thank you so much, Mr. Temlet. Sorry, I had a problem with my button there. Thank you very much for this talk. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you have been collecting nuggets, but I have been jotting stuff down. We're teachers, so we know how to write this thing down. I just want to remind you that this is the prelude to the Teachers Reinvention Convention, which will take place from Teachers' Day, which is the 5th of October 2021, to the 7th of October 2021. And it's just $5 per teacher. $5 per teacher. We want to encourage as many people as possible that can sponsor teachers. You could sponsor some of us. Some of us are here now. We have graduated from school. You remember that teacher who made such a mark in your life. Well, this is the time where you can put something back in. It might look small, but I'm telling you, it's a lot worth more than $5. You should know that by now. Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor. Okay, so we move on to our next speaker. Hello, Miss Kelly. Nice to finally meet you. Okay, that's on the side. I need to be official here now. So there we go. I'm going to read her bio. Kelly Ogunkoya, FIMCCMC, is a renowned leadership strategist, author, and management consultant. She's also a member of the Forbes Council. For close to a decade, she has conducted and facilitated high-impact leadership development workshops across Africa, North America, and Asia. Kemi prides herself in the ability to help corporate organizations enjoy seamless leadership transitions and executive onboarding to eliminate deficiencies which invariably minimize their costs and let them focus on growth. For close to a decade, she has helped individuals and organizations nationally and internationally create amazing results, equipping businesses with the appropriate technology-driven leadership skills to effectively perform on the job for businesses. Kemi has a rich experience across industries, including but not limited to oil and gas, as downstream sector, aviation, financial services, educational sector. We have to say that it's like, SMEs and the public sector. She has created some of the most remarkable transformations for our clients. Kemi is a certified management consultant and a master's neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, certified by the INLP Center in California, USA. Now, this is the important part. She holds a bachelor's degree in education and economics from the University of Ibadan and has an MBA in management consultancy from the University of Wales, Cardiff in the United Kingdom. Kemi is the founder of Reliance Work, a leadership consulting firm. She's also the founder of the Power Woman Network and co-founder of Speakers HQ. She's the convener of the Business Age Workshop and the Aspire with Kemi Conference. She's the author of the Goal Mastery book, Magical Pills, and the Leadership Guardian. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us make welcome Miss Kemi Ogunkoya.
Thank you very much for having such a great honor to be here. And thank you very much, Reinvention Center, for this amazing event. I've been listening at the back end and, there's just been a whole lot to take home. And, I trust that there will be so much value as we go on this entire session. So I have 15 minutes, to do the magic, and then we'll go right into it. And without wasting any further time, I'm going to build on what some of the other speakers have also spoken about. Now, I'm a trained educator, right? And in fact, I studied special education. So which means that I worked with some very special kids. And, I particularly work with children with mental retardation. So I have an understanding, or a very good understanding of, how education works. I've taught across different levels, really. But then one thing I would say, or that I usually say is this, right? And I want us to take note of this. You cannot become better at what you do unless you become better at who you are. Right? You cannot become better at what you do unless you become better at who you are. So as we go on this journey of reinvention as teachers, because trust me, there is a lot of reinvention that has to happen. Reinvention from our mindsets, reinvention from our beliefs, reinvention from our perspectives, reinvention from our orientation, reinvention from the possibility of the future. There is a whole lot that we have to reinvent. And I should also mention that when we talk about reinvention in itself is not about condemnation, right? So yes, a part of some of the beliefs, some behaviors, some expressions have to be done with, right? Some of them have to go. Some of them we have to kill. But it is not about condemnation. Rather, reinvention is about appreciation. So when we talk about appreciation, which means that we come from that place of inner place and then we make better. Okay, we make better. So look at the evolution of so many items that we love. There has been a system of reinvention. Some things had to go. So we cannot have this conversation around reinvention if we choose to remain the same old way after this experience. Then there's no reinvention. But then when we look at the possibility of the future and trust that the possibility of the future in this profession is really, really amazing. It's very, very promising. But what exactly do we see? Right? Are we seeing the possibility or are we seeing the labels? So I remember when I started out, I studied education by chance. Okay, I studied education by chance. And I remember when, in fact, I was supposed to go to a college of education, and somehow there has been this perspective or, this myth around the fact that, oh, you know what, you can't make it as a teacher. I remember how I didn't even want to submit my form to study education. And now I understand better, really, because when I look back, I understand that the assignment of education or educating people or raising, people, impacting life is way beyond us, right? And looking at the responsibility that lies on our shoulders, in fact, the function of education is the best, is the best role really that you can have. Now, education or being an educator, being a teacher, we need to understand that it is something about purpose. I've worked for money before, right? And it's good. Money is good. We need money. But then I understand the place of working for purpose. Working for purpose, waking up every day and wanting to keep going. Waking up every day because I know that my life is beyond me. And that's exactly the mandate that has been given to us as educators. Unfortunately, a lot of us see what we do in the light of what we can gain from it, but then we lose sight of what exactly we are gaining and who we are becoming by being educators. As educators, you can either be building or erasing, right? You can either be building or erasing. And when we talk about building, building is not just about, pedagogy or just helping people gain information or knowledge, right? It's about how you're able to transform their minds, how you're able to help them believe in the possibility of a future, how you're able to transform their minds and help them become better. But guess what? All of that will not happen if you do not become a better version of yourself. If you do not, intensify in your investment in self-awareness. In self-awareness, who are you? Because when we have a greater understanding of who we are, a lot of the things that we are running about, a lot of the validation that we are running around for, we will stop seeking. Because we will understand that we are indeed full in ourselves. We will understand the importance of the responsibility that lies on our shoulders. So when we talk about a reinvention, a part of us has to go, unfortunately, right? And it's about how we can have those conversations with ourselves. Remember, I said that as an educator, as a teacher, we're either building or we're erasing. Now, a lot of teachers and educators have erased the future that they claim that they are trying to build. Now, I'll give an example, right? So my son is left-handed, and he came home one day and told me that, oh, Mom, my teacher said the left hand is useless. And for that reason, I don't want to use the left hand again. I want to start using my right hand, right? And what happened was that his teacher was trying to explain a particular concept to him, which was greater than and less than. So in her own explanation, because the less than, the left hand was taken away, in her own explanation, it was useless. And then she sowed that seed. She sowed that seed into that boy. And because of that, this guy came home and just wanted to stop using the left hand. Now, it will look like a very mundane thing, but then that was an opportunity to erase rather than build. But the teacher was innocent, really, right? Because you cannot do or give what you do not have. If you are not aware, you will not understand the place of the other person. You will not understand the place of your actions and your inactions. You will not even understand the place of the gravity of your actions and your inactions. That's why it's important that we become aware of who we are. And by becoming aware of who we are, we first need to begin on the journey of clarity, right? Clarity about our purpose, clarity about who we are, clarity about why we are here, clarity about the difference and the impact that we can bring to the world. Clarity is the first thing. And then the second thing is character. Character, who are you? Who are you on the inside? What is the expression of the depth of what you carry on the inside? Are you genuinely in this profession because you love to impact life, because you want to be a better version of yourself? Because a lot of times when we look at the teaching space, we're focused on impacting knowledge in other people. And then we forget ourselves. We forget that in the process of impacting, we are also being impacted, right? So who are you on this? And that's where character comes in. Now, the third thing is about competence. Competence. And competence is way beyond, oh, this is what I know, is way beyond the technical skills. It is about, how intentional are you on the journey of growth? How are you able to be truthful enough with yourself and tell yourself the hard truth to say, you know what, this is where I am, but this is where I want to be, and this is what I need to do to close or bridge that gap. We are in a time and in a season where information, is democratized, right? Where I can be right in my living room and then I'm connecting with people in Australia, I'm connecting with people in China. How much of those opportunities are we taking? And then we say, oh, you know what, there are no opportunities in the teaching profession. There are opportunities, there are platforms that can help us achieve, and achieve global reach, global expression. How much of that are we taking advantage of? We have MOOCs, a lot of online courses there. How much are we taking advantage of? And it has to be beyond what we have to teach the next day. It has to be beyond what we have to give out to the children or to our pupils, or to our constituents. It's about how are we being transformed also on the journey of transforming others. And then the fourth thing is commitment. What are you committed to? Are you committed to what you're doing? Is it about the money, right? And trust me that the money will make you feel good. So your remuneration drops in your account and you're excited. But then what happens right after it starts to dwindle and then you have to wait another cycle? It's definitely much more than that. So are you committed to what you do? You cannot talk about reinvention without commitment. You have to be committed to the process of reinvention. You have to be committed to the process of becoming a better version of yourself. You have to be committed to the process of fulfilling purpose. And then to the next one is about connection. Right? Connection. We live in a world that looks like it's connected, but is disconnected. But are you connected first with yourself? Are you able to listen to yourself and hear the inclines of your heart? Are you able to understand exactly what matters to you and what is of most importance to you? And that's what self-awareness, clarity will do for you. Okay, you have to be committed. You have to have connection with those that you teach. You have to be genuinely interested and invested in their lives. Because when you do this, you're not just impacting them, you're also impacting your life. Right? You're also impacting your life. So the connection has to first start with you. A lot of us are dissociated. There's so much trauma that we're carrying around. There's so much burden in our hearts. And because of that, we can't empathize. We cannot give our best. We are absent. Right? The journey of reinvention, getting to that place where we demystify all this concept around materialism to being teachers who actually live for impact, would require you being, connected with yourself and then understanding how to connect with other people. And then confidence. Confidence. There's nothing that would kill and demoralize an educator as much as the lack of confidence. You have to be confident about who you are. You have to be confident about the assignment. You have to be confident about the purpose. You have to be very confident and be able to express yourself and lift your shoulders. Stand tall. Stand tall. I know people who are, doing time banking and then they are frustrated. We're looking for meaning, right? We're looking for meaning. So it's important that we start coming from that perspective. So I'm going to leave us with that. But then I want us to understand that we have a mandate and we need to keep asking ourselves every day, am I a builder or a breaker, right? And then the journey of reinvention is an intentional one. And you have to be part of that process. Thank you very much.
Wow. Can I pause for a bit? That's so much to take in. Thank you very, very much, Femi, for those nuggets. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to see more chats. Then come up there and tell us how do you think the sessions have been going so far. Can you come up and let us know all the things going on. It's been awesome. We've had 3 speakers, and we still have one more. But before that happens, I think the the video ad can come on again. Am I right? Are we okay with the audio now? There we go. We'll find out now. Okay. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Can you hear me? I keep getting the calls that some people can't hear me. Can you hear me? Can we put that on the
Yes,
yes, yes. Can you hear me loud and clear?
yes.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
a little
Right.
bit.
Loud and clear. If someone says cracking. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. So we have our last and definitely not the least speaker today. I have had a lot of information. I have to go back, sit down, settle down, or after a cup of coffee, and just go through all the points that I've written down. And I can see from the chat that a lot of us have picked quite some nuggets. Someone is asking for the link for registration and contact person number. Okay, can you look at that? It's on the chat. Okay, somebody will get to you soon. All right, so we're now moving to Mr. John up here. He's going to come and address us, and I'll be reading his bio. John Appiah is an entrepreneur, human capital development specialist, and youth empowerment enthusiast. He holds a Master of Arts degree in Communication Studies and a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science and Sociology from the University of Ghana, Legon. He is a fellow of the Young African Leaders Initiative, YALI, Regional Leadership Center, RLC, West Africa. He is the CEO of A-Lead Consult, which is an independent human capital development training provider. He's also the founder and president of the Africa Chamber for Youth Development, which is Africa's premier youth development hub that has the overall goal of being the one-stop chamber where youth leaders undergo training, capacity building, and skills enhancement. He is the managing director of Koforidua Clinic, which is a medical facility that provides health services to the people in Koforidua and its surrounding towns. John has over 10 years of experience, having worked in various high-profile communication roles in organizations, including the British High Commission as a communication manager, Invest in Africa as a marketing manager, Joy FM as the producer of a Super Morning Show and News Profile, TV3 as the presenter, Anchor, New Day Morning Show, and 3FM as the panelist and producer, Sunrise Morning Show. Ladies and gentlemen, help us welcome John Appiah.
Thank you very much. That was a very wonderful introduction. And congratulations, you were able to mention my name very well, and I'm highly impressed. Well done. All right. So I'm grateful to the organizers of this very important seminar, bringing us all together on this platform. Very grateful to you, and I'm happy that from Ghana I get to contribute to the conversation. One of the most difficult things to do as a speaker is to be the last person to speak, because what it is that most of the time the preceding speakers may essentially hit on all the key points you may have planned to speak or talk about. So it's a very difficult position, but it is also very good because then the foundation would have been laid very well, and you just have to put the icing on the cake and we're all good to go. So I'll try and do just that. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Well, beyond my introduction, I started off as a teacher, and I still see myself as a teacher. I have had experience in Ghana teaching in the basic schools, in the junior secondary school, in the senior secondary school. And I think that one of the best professions you can ever belong to is the teaching profession. And therefore, what I'm going to say very passionately, and I'm going to speak from the bottom of my heart, knowing very well the experience and the exposure that I have gotten out of my experience as a teacher. And I believe that the things I'll share will be very applicable even in Nigeria, South Africa, Congo, wherever people are listening to us. When I was given this opportunity, I decided to speak on how we can change the narrative as teachers. How we can change the narrative as teachers. Because, anytime you mention a teacher, there's a certain perception that people have of who a teacher is and who a teacher is expected to do. So what I'm going to talk about within this next 10 minutes is to focus on 5 key things that I think that any teacher who is determined to make a difference, who's determined to change the narrative, should be doing, so that at the end of the day, we can play our part in developing our various countries and into contributing to make Africa a better place. So 5 key things that I believe that the 21st century African teacher should be doing. 5 key things that the 21st century African teacher should be doing. Again, I am grateful to all the speakers that came ahead of me. They've done tremendously well, spoken on very important key issues, and I look forward to engaging during the Q&A session. So the first thing I'll talk about is that we are all aware as teachers that one of the things we have to do, or the most important thing we have to do, is to actually teach. And I'm saying this, it may sound a bit paradoxical or a bit, strange, but from my experience here in Ghana, there are a lot of people who are teachers that actually go to the classroom and do other things apart from actually teaching. In the light of us receiving empowerment, in the light of us receiving enablement and all that, some teachers are essentially forgetting the fundamentals, the main core reason why they are teachers. All right. So I want to reiterate that one of the most important things you need to keep at the back of your mind as a teacher who's determined to change the narrative is that you were essentially employed to teach. Now, in teaching, it is not just about going to the classroom to chew and pour, as we call in Ghana here. You don't just go and memorize and go and pour out to the students and then you leave the class. You need to understand that your role as a teacher is very important. And for me, the key thing is that as a teacher, you have to be on top of your game. You have to be the best in the subject that you teach. It is very, very important. You can't be a mediocre teacher or an average teacher. You need to be an exceptional teacher. And exceptional teachers are teachers that are masters of the content. They are masters of the subjects that they are teaching. And that for me is very, very important. So as you go about your teaching, always bear in mind that you need to constantly read and learn and research and make sure you improve the knowledge you have. Because as a student growing up, I met a number of teachers who just came to continue the things that they were teaching in the 19th centuries. The same thing over and over again. If you compare my notes at that time to the notes of the teacher, some of my seniors, it was virtually the same notes. Nothing changes about it. The same old examples, the same, nothing different about it. But as a 21st century teacher, one of the things you need to understand is that you need to ensure that in your teaching, you are updated. In your teaching, you are including very practical modern day examples in your teaching. In your teaching, you are making sure that the relevance of what you are teaching is something that the students will be able to pick up something from, which is very important. So we can't continue to say that because it is in the textbooks for us to use the 18th century examples, we are still using those examples to try and drive home a point. The world has tremendously changed. And because of that, it behoves on us as teachers to be able to ensure that in our teaching, we are able to put in place practical modern day examples that will help our students to understand concepts better and will be able to better appreciate the things that we are teaching them in class. So it's important. You need to be on top of your game. And by being on top of your game, you need to read, you need to research, and you need to ensure that the subject you're teaching, you are indeed a master in that subject. Under that same theme, I will also encourage a lot of teachers to apply technology in their methodology. Very, very important. The ability to apply technology in our teaching. We understand sometimes we may not be very well resourced. We may still be using a chalkboard and chalk and all that. But even in the midst of all that, we have everything it takes to be able to ensure that we are able to apply or bring in technology in our teaching approach. Because you see, the present generation of students are technology students. They are students that are in sync with technology, the internet, artificial intelligence, and then all that. And we shouldn't write ourselves off because we are from Africa. We need to be able to get to the international level. We need to be able to get to the global standard. And that will involve you as a teacher making every conscious effort to apply technology in your teaching. The second thing we are expected to do in order for us to be impactful in the 21st century as teachers is that we need to also have it at the back of our minds that even though we are teaching the students, we are also mentoring and coaching the students to become leaders. Very, very important. A teacher that is exceptional and different is a teacher that has the mindset that I am not only a teacher, but I'm a coach and I'm a mentor. So even as I pass on knowledge to the students, teaching them 1 + 1 is equal to 2, I am also consciously imbibing them with very important values and leadership skills that will help them to become better people in future. So in my opinion, the very best of teachers are not just the teachers that come and spew information on the board and then they go, but teachers that also make a conscious effort to inculcate into the students that they are teaching very important values and leadership lessons. Because the truth of the matter is that students spend a lot of time in the classroom as compared to staying home. It is just the COVID-19 that came to change the conversation or change the paradigm. But essentially, from morning 7 o'clock to like 5 p.m., students are in the classrooms with their teachers. The key question is that beyond teaching them just photosynthesis and osmosis and all that, you should make a conscious effort to teach them very important leadership skills and values that will help them to grow up to become very important leaders in future. So that should be the second thing that any teacher bent on becoming exceptional and becoming a 21st century teacher for that matter should have at the back of your mind. Mentor and coach the students to become great leaders. The third thing I will say is that it is also important for us to keep in touch, especially with some of our key students that we teach. What I mean to say is that if you used to teach in the JSS or SS, of course, the students will go further than that. They will go into the university, some will read their master's, some will read their PhD and all that. But you see, I believe that as teachers, we're able to identify exceptional students. We're able to identify some key people amongst the lot that we are confident that this person will essentially become somebody affluent or influential that can help the society to be better. So it is important for us to make a conscious effort to keep in touch with some of our students. It may not be all of the students because there are a lot of them, but there are some key people amongst them that we should keep an eye on. There are some of the students that show a lot of glimpses of brightness for the future. The parents may not necessarily believe in them. The society may not necessarily believe in them, but because you work with them on a daily basis in the classroom, you are able to essentially predict that this gentleman, this young lady, if the person continues in that same trajectory in the next 5 to 10 years, this is a person who's going to rise up to become a very influential person in the society. So the third thing I will encourage you to do is that as much as you can, keep in touch with some of the key students that you engage with or some of the key students you teach. Now, because of social media, you don't have to necessarily have their phone numbers to be calling them, but you can get to follow them on social media. You can get to connect with them on Facebook, on LinkedIn and all that, because you see, there are some of the students we have thought we know in our heart that these are people that are going to be great people. These are people that are going to change the paradigm. These are people that are going to make the big difference. I think that it is imperative on us as teachers who want to change the narrative to ensure that we are constantly in touch as much as we can with some of these students we call the strategic students that we teach. Very important, not only to follow them to get money from them, but most importantly, to continue to be a part of their success story. Because most of these people will look back and say that, I thank God I met a teacher called John Appiah. I am happy I was once his student, and I'm glad I am still in touch with the student. And I'll be honest with you, there are some of the students who in future will become great people, and they will try everything possible to locate us, but they may not be able to find us because we have lost touch with the world. We are not on social media. Our phone numbers have been whatever it is, but it is important that going forward, we make a conscious effort to keep in touch with what I call our key strategic students. The fourth thing I'll talk about is that we as teachers should not just limit ourselves to the classroom. I think that we have to also be influential in affecting the way policies are made in our countries. Because you see, as a teacher, you are a very smart person, you are a very intelligent person, and most importantly, you are somebody that has a voice. So I think that the fourth thing we need to do as teachers in the 21st century is that we should consciously make efforts to influence policy, especially in education and youth development. We have a voice, we have a say. We shouldn't leave the education and the youth policy and the youth development only to our politicians. We are the people on the ground. So if, for example, a particular minister of education is attempting to change the curriculum or is trying to change the way things are done in schools and in education, we have a voice as teachers to be able to say what we think has to be done. We cannot continue to keep silent and say, let's leave it to the parliamentarians and the politicians to make the decisions. We as teachers, we have a voice. And that is why, especially in Ghana, we have teacher unions that are very strong and very influential, that contribute to policy and actively engage the leadership of the country when it comes to policy making and policy decisions. These are very important things that we should not take for granted. All right. So we should make it a point that we are going to make our voices be heard. There are a lot of things that are done that as teachers we sit in the staff room and we come up with brilliant ideas and suggestions, but it stays just in the staff room. As a 21st century teacher who wants to make a difference, our thoughts and opinions should not just be relegated to the staff room, but we should make a conscious effort to make our voice heard. Whether it's on social media, whether we are coming together as a team to be able to make our voices known, whether we are coming together to express our opinion in a press release or whatever it is, definitely we as teachers, we should ensure we are part of the national conversation. The final thing I'll talk about is that we are expected to be role models to our community. A lot of times, some teachers will say that, well, I will show you the way, but I may not necessarily lead the way. But I think that as teachers, our students know us in the community. They meet with us, they engage with us at the canteen, they meet us at the marketplace, they go to the same church with us and all that. So at a point, it is very important for you to bear in mind that you are, first of all, a role model. You are, first of all, an example. And therefore, in your decisions, in your choices, in your actions, in the community, you need to constantly live with that mindset that my students are looking up to me. The parents of my students are also looking up to me. So I cannot live my life anyhow. I need to be the right example for these young people to be able to model after me and to be able to also become better people. Because of our time, I wouldn't want to stretch the conversation too much. I just want to limit myself to these 5 main points that I've raised. One, as a teacher who's bent on making the difference, you need to be able to apply practical and modern examples in your teaching. You need to be able to apply technology in your teaching approach and methodology, and you need to be on top of your game. The students that we have now are very sharp and intelligent. They are always on Google. They are learning new things and new terminologies and new concepts. So you as a teacher should be on top of the game to be able to, as much as possible, answer the questions they have and to be able to provide for them relevance in what it is you are teaching them. The second thing is that we should have a mindset that we are also mentors and coaches whenever we get to the classroom. So even though we are teaching our students things, we are also making a conscious effort to impart onto them very strong leadership skills, very strong soft skills. These are things that we may not necessarily pick up in our training colleges, but once we go out to the field, You can learn on your own. You can listen to things on YouTube, build yourself, personal development, so that when you go to the classroom, you can act as a coach and a leader to help your students to become better people in future. And of course, you need to also keep in touch with your students. And I think that that's very important. As much as possible, there are some key students we know in our hearts. We are convinced, we are not prophets, but we know that these are people that are going to become great people. We need to stay in touch with such people to ensure that we are constantly influencing them in their choices and in their decision. And the fourth thing is that we should not limit ourselves just to the classrooms. We as teachers will have a voice. We as teachers, we should be heard. We should be able to contribute to policy making. We should be able to contribute to the way things are done in our community. We should be able to let our opinions be known. We should be able to bring our knowledge and experience to the table when it comes to decision making. We should not relegate ourselves to the staff room and just the classroom. And finally, we should always remember that we are role models in the community. Let our lives speak for our students. Don't think that as a teacher, you're supposed to be poor for the rest of your life. You can do something else with yourself, multiple streams of income and other things that can make you live up to the expectations and even exceed expectations. And thankfully, there are a lot of support we can get from the banks because we have regular salaries coming through our bank accounts. We can even go for loans and all that. But the question is that even when you get those loans, use them for something productive and prosperous, such that your life will not just be an ordinary person roaming the streets of your community. So I thank you all very much for your time, and I hope that these 5 key points I've shared will make a lot of impact on you. Thank you.
Wow, what a way to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Mr. John Appiah. We have 5 keys that an African teacher should know and be doing. One of the keys you mentioned, you said we should keep in touch with our students. I noticed on the chat that Paris Delgado wrote that she is in touch with students she had in 1980. That
Wow.
is awesome.
Amazing.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. Now, we are moving slowly towards the questions and answers. I have not seen any questions yet. We are teachers. We know how this is done, even in our classroom. We always wrap our classes up with questions and answers. So can we have questions and answers for the panelists? And let us know which panelist you are directing your question to. We only have 15 minutes left, and I want us to just make use of what we have without it conclude on time. Any questions? Is anybody okay? Maybe I should start. I'll just throw it to all the panelists, and I'll expect your answers. We have heard that should be part of the TRC, the conference beginning. We heard it somehow that they're going to be part of the conference beginning on the 5th of October to the 5th of September. And I believe the 7th of October, sorry. 5th of October to the 7th of October. We want to know, what are we expecting? You want to give us maybe just 2 sentences each of what we are expecting. What should we be expecting at our conference, at the summit? Let's start with Kenny Ozuhaya. What should we be expecting from you? Can you hear me?
Okay, I think Mopoloko can take on that question. What do we expect?
Okay.
Can also we get the question again?
We have heard that you're going to be part of the conference, the main conference holding the 5th of October to the 7th of October. What are we expecting from? What should we expect? The Teachers Reinvention Conference, the summit. Can you hear me?
No, Mobok, maybe Taiwo should repeat your question. He's coming through a lot clearer than you are.
Oh, okay. So yes. So yes, the question is, we expect that you all be at the conference come October to celebrate the teachers. Okay, as panelists and speakers on this great, at the great conference, can you please tell us what the teachers are to expect, to look forward to, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. So please, let's have you all share your thoughts as to what we should be expecting at the conference.
That's a great question. There's so much more to expect. You can see that right now, even trying to have this conversation within 15 minutes each. Yeah, there are a lot of things that we can unpack and have more conversations around. That I still believe that looking at some of the key points that you shared when you were making an advert for the conference, looking at the side of strength assessment, personality tests, and more of that, we are going to see practicals, some tools that we can use to really be able to get more from the teachers themselves so that we understand them better and we are able to provide whatever resources that they may need to catapult their growth in these challenging times. I believe that they are going to get more resources, more information, and we are going to expand more on the conversation that we are having right now.
Great. So John, let's have your thoughts also. What do we expect? Mel, it'll be nice you put on your video. Yes, and Kemi is in between a call. We'll get this going, okay?
Yes, I think that whatever we experience here today is just the tip of the iceberg. And because we had very limited time, there were lots of discussions and conversations that could have been, we could have had those conversations. So for the upcoming summit, I will encourage as many people as we can to get on board and be part of it, because we're really, really going to benefit so much. Our lives as teachers will indeed never be the same.
Awesome.
I'd like to just mention, I really do come in on the practical grounds basis, as I mentioned earlier, what's going on in the corridors. And I know from experience that Gallup bring out some information which says 85% of employees are either not engaged or actively disengaged at work. Now, though the teaching profession, you have to be engaged, but are you really engaged to the degree that one should be? And I have 12 questions that I would like to do as a workshop with them so they can look forward to saying, how do I reinvent myself in the classroom to become a better teacher who engages with the students? And then also there's a lovely thing on their profile, on what are the expectations, the roles they play, what value do they add to the organization, what is their purpose in getting out of bed in the morning and wanting to go teach. So those are kind of things we will unpack at the next session.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Melville.
So, Antibi,
I can see that there's some questions on the panel, on the chat. Sorry. There's some questions on the chat.
Yes.
And they are to Mr. Atia. Interesting, they're all teachers of the same school. Okay. Mr. Taiwo of Adepoju College is asking, how can we predict the future of any child? Which you said, if we were predicting, we should, kind of have maybe use the intuition. I don't know. You find some students have some gifts and can tell that these ones are going to be future leaders and all that. So they're asking, how can we predict? And then Mr. Taiwo and Mr. Adepoju, they're asking, how can we have other sources of income without affecting the very rigorous activity of teaching and learning? Mr. Atia.
Okay. So, I mean, I agree when you say that we cannot predict the future of any of our students. No two ways about it. But what I'm saying is that a teacher who has a mindset about a mentor and a coach doesn't write people off, doesn't talk down on students. And even for students that are struggling in the class academically, you are there to give them a hand of support. So the idea is that even if you have brilliant students in the class, you don't give all your attention to just the brilliant students in the class, but you make a conscious effort to help even those who are struggling. Because the truth of the matter is that some students, as they go higher, become better and sharper. So the notion or my intention is that you don't write any student off and say that this person can never become a leader in future, this person can never become a great person in future. In fact, I know students that at the time I was teaching them were really struggling to even become the last in the class. Can you just imagine? They were struggling to even become the last in the class. But the point is that these were people that I didn't look down on them. I didn't slight them in my engagement with them. I always treated them with respect and kept encouraging them to keep working hard and that everything is going to fall in place for them. Now, what it is that even when such students who we write off or who we think may not be able to amount to anything eventually become powerful and influential people, they always have you in mind. They always have you in mind. I know students who are now looking for their teachers not to reward them, but to either punish them, because whilst they were in school, these students or these teachers were writing them off, these teachers were maltreating them. So even as they have risen to places of power and influence, they're looking for opportunities where they can pay back those teachers in their own coin and make them pay for the way they treated them. But my point is that we don't have to write people off. And I'll give you a very typical example. When I was even doing my master's in communication studies, I had one of the very powerful lecturers tell me that there's no way I can do broadcasting. It was because I fumbled on a number of words whilst I was doing a presentation. And in the middle of the presentation, she stopped me and said, John, I don't think you can ever do TV or radio because of the way you are fumbling with these very basic words. Unfortunately for her, I rose up to become a very good TV presenter and a very influential person in radio. Wow. So the point I'm making is that sometimes the comments our teachers make have a way of lingering on our minds. And honestly speaking, at the point I was waiting to have her on a show, on a TV interview, then I was going to put her in the right square. But of course, our objective is not to pay back, those who didn't believe in us. So I will encourage as many teachers as possible to keep encouraging their students. Don't write them off, because some of the things you say can leave a lasting legacy in their minds. Don't tell them that they are dumb, they are inept, they are foolish students, they are stupid students. Those things can injure their sense of self-confidence. And some of them, when they grow up to become even rebels, they will have you in mind that anywhere I meet this teacher, I will either slap this teacher or punish this teacher or make sure this teacher suffers for the things he or she did to me. I want us to be those kinds of teachers in this 21st century. Let us be people that encourage and inspire our students from all walks of life and from all backgrounds. Let us not write people off. Thank you.
Maybe I can just share a comment on that as well. Can I come in?
Okay, I've heard you. Oh. Okay.
So just very quickly, I know time's running out, but very often you'll find that you've got to define what education is really about. And if you can get away from it being pure academics, then it gives us the interest in the child. So we are there to develop the whole child and not just the academics within a child. So those children are not academically minded. We have to find other strengths in those children that we can complement them on. And as John said, grow their self-confidence in. Because my experience has found the kids who have struggled through school life, they are often the ones who, because of that, build resilience and work hard at maybe being remedial students, occupational therapists have had to take care of them. Often when they get to matric, that's the exiting of grade 12 in our country, those children go beyond your ducks of the school. Those who pass the matric with flying colors are the ones who end up working for the people who struggle through school, because those ones who struggle through become the entrepreneurs of society, and the ducks of schools go knock on their door for a job. So we need to be very careful. I'm not saying you water down any academics, but make sure that all the children coming through your care are well cared for and are encouraged to be the best they can be. And often when you just zero in on their strengths, it picks up the academics because their confidence picks up anyway. All right.
Okay. All right then. Thank you so much. I'd like to read out some of the chat From Chantel, she says, as a student, I believe it is equally important for all students to keep in touch with key teachers who will contribute to our reinvention and growth. Mine was rather a comment, not a question. Okay, so that is true. It's just not the teachers keeping in touch, the students need to do that as well. Maureen says, I want to just add to what Mr. Appiah has said. As teachers, let us make it a point of duty to keep in contact with the learners who all other teachers have labeled as dull or no good. From Ruth, she says, as an educationist, not a regular teacher who is interested in being influential, to be part of policy making, is there any forum or group we can join to make our voice heard? That's what she's asking. Anybody want to answer that? Mr. Mukumbuki? I'm sure he can't hear me. From Cynthia, the teaching profession can be overwhelming. Some days I feel like quitting. How can I encourage myself to go on, please? Mr. Melville, how can we encourage ourselves as teachers to go on?
All right. Yeah, it reminds me earlier on this year when the year started, and I wrote one article on LinkedIn on why you should look at your job differently. And one of the areas I talked about was the key element that I shared in the presentation this evening. And I talked about creating a circle of people around what you do so that they can keep you have an encouragement cycle. Now, imagine a teacher in a rural area where they are all complaining about water, they are all complaining about shortage of classes. The environment you are going to create around you is for people who are already tired as well, people who want to give up as well, people who want to quit as well. And then now you forget the first love, why you wanted to do this thing, and you want to quit. You don't want to quit the job. You want to quit the problem. You want to quit the challenge. So finding people around nearby communities, finding people like this platform, it helps you to reinvent yourself in understanding how you can do things much better and how you can approach things in a different manner. And then I can tell you, most of the teachers that are here this evening, next week, Monday, is going to be a different kind of energy in what can be done, the groups they can form, the new ideas they can share. It's going to be a vibrant, place, because right now they are exposed to information. As my mentor would say, information changes situations. The more we expose ourselves to how people do things better, how people get through the feelings of quitting, how people get through what they meet on their day-to-day life, on their teaching and everything, is going to help you to make a breakthrough through such from such feelings of wanting to give up and to quit.
Yeah, if I can come in and answer what you're asking me as well on that one, I just thought that a story came to mind about these starfish that were washed up on the shore, and I'm sure many of you heard the story before. But this little boy was throwing his starfish back into the sea one by one, and there were thousands on the seashore. And this couple came across them and realized this was a futile work he was trying to do to help resuscitate or get these starfish all saved. Anyway, they came to the boy and said, "What are you trying to do?" He said, "Well, I'm trying to throw these starfish back and give them life again." So they said, "Well, you're never going to be able to get through all of these." And he took another starfish and threw it back and said, "Well, I made a difference in that one's life." So it's the one by one, I think, it's the call to the profession again. And I know sometimes that question is a very broad and open-ended one as to what has caused this person to say, I want to quit, I want to give up. But if you go back to your call, if the call was to develop and influence children and students, and maybe one's going to just go back to the call and start one by one, seeing who, and start celebrating those children that you do have influence in, and seeing you making a difference in their lives. That might rejuvenate and reinvent your call again.
Okay.
Well said, Bill. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Joy is asking, um, she had network failure through the training. Can we get a link to this recording? There's a recording going to be on YouTube, so can can you can get the recorded portion of this song on YouTube. It will be on YouTube. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to go through the. Cynthia, I hope that you found some relief from what has been said, and I also would love you to check on the panel. There's a Telegram group for Reinvention that has been posted. Please click on that link and register. It will help you when you are with a team and a group of people who have the same vision in life. Clara Ume has raised her hand, please. Clara Ume, can you? Clara Ume? Oh, okay, what of Prince Santi? Is he here? Prince Santi? Okay, Chuku Obinaju raised his hand. Ikotu Shegun, can you unmute yourself if I called your name? Ikotu Shegun?
I have unmuted myself.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Go ahead, Obechuku.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. I have a question. My question is this. I'm a teacher. I teach the lower class early years. And I have a pupil in my class. And I noticed the pupil has a motor skill problem. The parents, they open up to me. They didn't tell me anything if the child has developmental problems. But I noticed this. For instance, when we sing and clap, I noticed we all clap before the child claps. So he does things slower than every other child. And you keep teaching, you keep rehearsing with him. I do one-on-one with him. But sometimes I feel I'm punishing him. I'm giving him, his brain doesn't coordinate what I'm doing. He doesn't understand yet. And he is in the right age and in the right class. Now, how do you work with such child? Because now the parents.
Okay, Chuku is gone off, but I think if Miss Kemi Okupai is here, she should be able to help us with answering that question. Kemi, are you here now?
Yes, I am.
Parents didn't tell anything if the child has development not okay, and the child, because the truth is hug. He does that every day. He gives me a hug before he leaves the class. But I have noticed these things about him. Now, how do you help such a child?
Okay, all right. So I'll respond to that question, Ogechuku, and thank you very much for being an intentional teacher, right? To be able to even identify that. Now, there are quite a couple of questions I would like to ask. Have the parents been invited? Have you had conversation with them? Has this information been escalated to the school level? Who exactly is aware about this situation and what has been done so far, right? Because there's some level of special need, that may be required, and a lot of teachers may not necessarily be, equipped to deal or handle with, these children in this particular way. So what exactly are some of the interventions that have been carried out up to now? Who is aware? What conversations have been had with the parents so far? I would like to know that, please.
Okay, I've taken it. Okay, thank you, ma'am. I've taken it up to the head. We've discussed that. We actually plan inviting the mother. But why I asked this question, because I have invited the mother one-on-one. I didn't discuss the. I just told her that I need to spend time more with your child. He's not really getting what we're doing in the class. The if he's not coordinating, he doesn't understand. You know, he needs a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of rehearsal before he gets what you're talking about, before he understands, okay, this is what it is. Oh, so this is the concept. By then, the other ones are far, they've gone far. So I've called the mother one-on-one. I know she keeps saying, no, but he's okay at home. At home, he's fine. At home, he does his homework himself. And when he comes to the class, I know he doesn't do this himself. You understand? He's been helped. But when I discussed with the mother, she like, no, at home, he comes home, he does his homework himself, he writes all this himself, he does this. And sometimes when she comes to pick the boy up, she sees me and the child, you know, and she sees the way he's struggling to do some work. He's really struggling. He doesn't get it. He doesn't, you know, I keep helping him and all that. But when I try to, okay, please come, you know, she like, no. So I've spoken with the head of the school. So she actually planned to invite the parents so that we will all discuss this. And I don't know why I'm bringing it up. Is my mind is telling me the woman might say everything is well. He's fine. There's no problem with him. So how do I help the child?
Okay, all right, great. And thank you very much for sharing that extra detail. Now, some parents may have difficulty accepting, you know, that they have a special needs child, because just trying to think of that may actually, you know, overwhelm them, right? And then get to the stage of acceptance. So we need to understand that we also have to take them through a particular process. But if we're already having talks with the parents, they have to come to school. We have to get them to school. Some of the information that has been given on the phone already may actually scare them, right? And they may not be ready to deal with that truth already. So let's first bring them to school. But beyond them bringing them to school is that we also have some specialists, you know, on ground who are able to help her even understand what, because, you know, when we talk about dyslexia, there are so many spectrums of it. So let's also ensure that we have some form of knowledge, you know, about some of these interventions, so that we're able to refer appropriately, right? So that whatever intervention can begin early on, rather than having the little boy struggle so much in school, and then, you know, he gets to a particular point where he starts to lose his confidence, especially when maybe other classmates start to make jests or call him names. So let's ensure that we bring the parents to school as soon as possible, but let's also ensure that we have some form of, you know, specialists that can also guide. And then we can also, you know, refer appropriately. The school may not be able to handle it, and that's the truth, but then let's ensure that we have that level of support. So please, you know, you're on the right track. Let's just ensure that we bring them as soon as possible.
Okay, good evening.
Okay. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, panelists and moderator. My name is KK Pinstasi. I am from Divine Mercy School in Sokoro, Abuja. Okay, my take is on the last speaker, Mr. Appiah. There was something he said about teachers also supporting themselves and adding more so that they can be able to add on to their income and everything to make up the mind and soul together. Okay, my take on that is that, yes, it's very, very important, especially in our African society, whereby things are that bad, hard. So teachers have to move out to get things to add up to their income. We are talking about 21st century teachers, and there's something we're expecting. We want the teachers to be role models. We want the teachers to be coach. We want them to be mentors, we want them to be leaders, we want them to teach and give out their best. And really, when they go to classroom, they need to teach. Now, we are the teachers. Now, you people, the panelists, I think by the favor and grace of God, people have come up a little bit to help up in these policies, to go out there. Because for me, I want the teachers to remain in the classroom and focus. Because yes, it's true to diversify is good, but when a teacher diversifies, you see that their attention has been stolen or is taken from the classroom, and they will not be able to offer their best to those children because their right hand is here, their left hand is here, their leg is there, their other leg is there. So we want to reach a situation whereby the government and policymakers will also look into this teaching profession and actually make the teachers have this sense of belonging and let their mind be in the classroom, no longer outside. But for now, yes, it's a very good idea to advise us to go and do all these things. It's okay. But we are looking forward to you people and others in government, make it that the teacher remain in the classroom because we are building lives here. We are building the future leaders. We need concentration and focus. So when our mind and soul is scattered in every place, teachers might not give the best. So this is my little take on that. So let us look at the 21st century attention for teachers. Now, not from teachers' angle, from the policymakers, from the government, and from you, our panelists, who have done so much to bring us together, so that at the end of this program and the one that is coming in October, from 5th to 7th, there'll be a communique, there'll be a paper that will be presented to government to be able to handle the teachers in a way that teachers will be able to give out their best in the classroom. This is my little take this evening, and I'm very, very happy being in this program. God bless you all, and also God bless my proprietors, Mrs. Ugandem, who avail me to be in this panel this night. God bless you, and thank you.
And to be, I see. Okay, thank you, Prince. And this is, I really don't want to respond to Prince. Can any of the panelists respond? But before you respond, please, before you respond, if you had something to say as to what the special needs child, can you just say that in a minute, and then we'll move to the panelists to address that question from Prince.
Okay, hi everyone, good evening. Well, I'm just gonna, I think our speaker has already said a lot with regards to intervention strategies for the special needs child. From everything that was said, the explanation of, the challenges that the child is facing, it sounds to me like that child needs to be exposed to different assessment strategies and methods. Things like, so the teacher yourself, you need to be enlightened, you need to be aware what available strategies are there for this child. Is there anything like an IEP in place for that child, like an intervention plan for that child before you bring in the parents? What are your observations? What are the developmental expectations for that child at that age? What's the stage of development? Now, this is different from the expectation of development for that child based on his age. Now, there's also the stage of development. So these are the things you need to consider as you have your report, as you take down notes, as you do your observations. That way you will be informed when you go out there to look for intervention strategies. I'm just going to say a little bit on that, but what that child needs to go through is a comprehensive assessment process, that will eventually decide or help to pin down what exactly is the challenge for that child. And I want to believe this child is in his early years, like you said. So it's crucial that you look at early intervention, because when you intervene for that child early, you are able to ward off other problems in the future. All right, so I'll leave it there for now.
Absolutely. Can I
Yeah, please go ahead. Auntie B is back. Auntie B is back. Great.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to add quickly to what Ifyok said, and I think that's absolutely very correct. So I want to share a quick experience. I have a son who has, some dyslexia. He's very, very smart and very intelligent. But then the teachers were struggling, even though I told them about the history, but then they were struggling to be able to cope and deal, right? Because they were not equipped with the right, skills or competencies to handle that. So just like Ifyok has said, I think if we're looking at schools where we're able to accept and say, you know what, we can help this child. We also have to ensure that we're able to ensure that our teachers are equipped enough to deal with it. If not, they get frustrated, right? Because they're not equipped, they don't understand. So imagine having to deal with 2 or 3 or 4 children like that in your class. At some point you start to lose steam, and then you're not even able to give your best to even other children. So it's important that schools now start to, look for ways to equip their teachers with different skills and techniques that can help them also thrive in class. Peradventure, they have children with, some form of special needs in their classrooms. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic. Mr. Taiwo, I was thinking that you would go on with where we are now.
No, so let me just, it's your call. But whilst you were off, Prince was asking he was responding, and we're back to the panelists now to respond.
Okay.
Prince was saying that it's important that the teachers focus on their focus, all right? But I have my own point of view. So panelists, now that's why you're here. Can you answer Prince? Prince says,
Okay. So what I'll say to Prince is that we shouldn't necessarily see teachers as, for a lack of a better expression, in a special class or in a special, box. Because you see, Prince, in the 21st century, the most important thing is about time management. Almost any successful person now, it's not just doing one thing. We were raised to believe that if you have your mind on other things, or if you do multiple tasking and all that, you may never be able to achieve anything. And I think that is something that has culturally crept into our mindset that is placing a lot of limitations on us. Now, thankfully, I am a teacher and I have been in the teaching profession before. So I understand that if there's a particular, job or a particular profession that affords you a lot of time, it is teaching. Now, by teaching, I'm not just referring to teaching in the kindergarten, in the primary, but even at the university level. Most of the lecturers that taught me in the university are not just lecturing in the class. After lecturing in the class, these are consultants also in the corporate world working to bring their knowledge to bear. And they are being paid for using their knowledge to solve problems and to contribute to decision making. So I think that even though we say that if you are teaching and you are doing something else, you have a divided attention, we need to master ourselves and master our time. Because the truth of the matter is that what we are doing now, as we are contributing to this conversation, we have planned and we have devoted time that, okay, I have a very busy schedule, but I know that on Friday from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, I'm supposed to be part of a panel. So I make sure in order to allow me the time to be able to do this. Now, if, for example, you're a teacher and you're not just stuck in the classroom, you are able to do other things. So what are some of the other things? And I'll use my life as an example. As a teacher, you can also decide that after teaching in the class, you're going to develop yourself. You're going to personal development. You're going to just add value to yourself beyond just teaching social studies or mathematics or science. To the point where, for example, if there's a conference going on in the community and they want somebody to, for example, MC the event. This is something that as a teacher, because you're a good public speaker, you can pick up as a second thing that can help you earn some income for yourself. Or if they want a particular moderator to engage in a discussion, you can offer yourself up or offer your time to be able to do that. And even for the young ladies, with this issue of learning how to do makeup, learning how to do some other things with your hands. And I run a clinic in Ghana here, and I have some of my nurses who are also people that can sew. So whenever they are on leave or whenever they are on their off days, they use their time to sew. And that is also bringing them some form of income. I know some doctors who are not just restricted to the consulting room. After doing their work in the consulting room and they close and they go home, they do other things with themselves to be able to ensure that there is multiple streams of income coming in. So I think that we have to really change our mindset. And the truth of the matter is that if we as teachers will continue wait on government to change our financial situation for us, it may never happen. Unfortunately not. So we have to do something for ourselves. Because whilst we were growing up, we had teachers complaining, and we are now teachers, we are in the future, and we are still complaining, waiting for a governor or the government or the parliamentarian to do something that will help us. We need to help ourselves first. Very, very important. And again, I'm using the Ghana example. When I was growing up, teachers were riding bicycles. They were coming to school to teach us in bicycles or on bicycles. But now, because teachers have been able to put themselves together and they are able to pass their salaries through the bank, they have access to loans. They have access to other incentives that the financial institutions can give them. I even know teachers that come to my clinic or my hospital and they're on a private health insurance because they contribute an amount every month to which a private health insurance is taking care of their children and themselves whenever they come to the hospital. So the teaching profession is such that if you are organized or you make up your mind that you're going to make the best out of even the little that comes in, there are other opportunities that can come your way that can help. So hitherto, if you didn't have private health insurance, you're going to pay physical cash for your healthcare. But now, because you have contributed to a scheme that allows your children and yourself and your dependents to get access to healthcare, it is saving you as a teacher. If you have a particular bank and the bank is able to provide a loan for you, or the cooperative society is able to vouch for you or stand in for you, they can advance some money to you, which you can use to do other things. I know teachers now that own cars, teachers that have houses, teachers that are doing so many things with themselves. So I think that we have to just tell ourselves that we are not going to limit ourselves. We are not going to allow our profession as a teacher to keep us in a box and to refrain and restrain ourselves from doing other things. Because you see, when you are in class, prepare for your class, do everything you have to do. But after the class hours, all the time you have is yours. And now there's social media. People are making money out of social media. I know of a teacher that has a YouTube channel where he's teaching on YouTube. And eventually he's built a large database of people that subscribe to his channel. And now the person is earning some income from that as well. So I will encourage you, Prince, please, let's not limit ourselves. You know, we as teachers are not different from the engineer or the rich man in our society that owns about 3 different businesses. If you look at the profile of all the speakers that were introduced, we're not just doing one thing for ourselves. We are doing a number of other things. You have the capacity, you have the potentials, you have the intelligence. You can do all these things once you keep yourself organizing your time very well. You can make a lot out of yourself. All right. So this is the little I'll add to it. Maybe we need to have a cultural mind shift that will help us to understand that we can do a lot with the time that we have. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We're really running out of time, but we would allow Mr. Mompoluki Makwana, who needs to go, to give us some closing statements. Mr. Mompoluki? Mr. Makwana, are you here? Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I think he's left. I can see him on the call.
Oh, okay. So sorry about that. He needed to leave. Man, there's so much going on here. I don't even know. Yes, I do agree. Time management is something that we need to look at. There's still a lot of questions, and we have really run out of time. Mr. Taiwo, Adepoju, the convener, what do you suggest we do?
You know, look, this is a tip of the iceberg. We definitely cannot exhaust everything here. I just think, and this is also part of what we're saying, look, we need to be able to bring teachers in to be able to say, look, robustly equip them with all that they require. And I love the fact that you talked about time management. There's a need for planning. There are a lot of productivity tools. You know, I see people say they're overwhelmed. Okay, so can we manage yourself now, you know, and then, you know, be able to put things in order and you'll be more, you know, more productive. Those are some of the things that has called for us to organize this conference, not just to celebrate teachers, but to equip them so that first, they understand and appreciate themselves as individuals. Second, they also come to terms with the fact that they can influence the students and indeed the community. And ultimately also, they can earn from where they are. So the alternative streams of income, as discussed by Mr. John, is still the secondary. We're even saying where you are, and I love the example he gave about the YouTube. Where you are, you can start to earn. What's stopping you from writing your book? What's stopping you from scripting or creating your teaching manual? There are several other things. So please let me allow the panelists to just round up. And to be, please take it home. Take it home.
Yes, I agree with that. The panelists are going to round up. Each of them are going to have some time to say something to just close up. Apologies for those whose questions were not answered, were a bit overwhelmed here, but you know that this is just like the entry. We still have many more in store for you if you just register as you should and continue to follow us on the summit. All right, we start with Kemi Ogunkoya.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's been a great session, and I always say insights without actions will always be useless. So it doesn't matter the amazing things we have had today. If we're not putting it into actions, it would just be that we have attended a soiree. And I'm sure that's not why we have spent the last few hours together. Now, my closing notes would be that the 21st century teacher is not a teacher in chains. Neither is the 21st century teacher a teacher in a box. In fact, what I would consider one of the greatest gifts or requirement for the 21st century teacher is resourcefulness, right? And when I talk about resourcefulness, I'm not talking about resources. I'm talking about you being able to make the very best with what you have. A lot of us have a lot of skills, competencies in our hands that we're not using, right? I am a teacher, I'm a trained educator, and what I do every day of my life is teaching. I teach young children sometimes, and then I'm in classrooms, all over the place, just impacting. But then beyond that is being resourceful to be able to create products. So some of us are teaching mathematics. How can you teach mathematics beyond your geographical space? I have products that are playing cards, I have books, I have workbooks. Those are things that we can start with. And some of these products don't even have to be hard copy, right? You can make money from digital copies. You can publish a book on Amazon that you don't necessarily have to pay a dime for, and then you can earn royalties for life. So there is so much that is available to us if we're willing to let go of some of the mindsets and ideologies that are not serving us anymore. And ideologies like, oh no, you just have to be in the classroom, it's an ideology that will keep us stuck in the past and will not make us productive, neither will it make us progressive, neither will it make us fulfilled as teachers. Why there's a lot of frustration is that a lot of us are not able to tap into the opportunities that are bound. So we're stuck to, whatever salaries. And then because we're not able to do other things, we don't find happiness and joy in what we do. So we have to start thinking beyond, beyond this and become people who are teachable, right? We want to teach young kids and then we want them to learn. Are you first teachable? Can you adopt a new mindset? Can you adopt a new way of thinking, a new way of life? Are you ready to learn about technology, right? If you are a teacher and then you can't even leverage technology, then you're not preparing, you don't have the capacity to prepare kids for the future. Okay, so let's come from that place of resourcefulness. Let's come from that place of abundance. Let's come from that place where we can open our eyes, we can open our ears, and then we can open our hearts to the possibilities of the future. And I trust that, there will be no stopping us.
Okay, thank you very much, Kemi Ogunkoya, for that. Closing remarks for Melville. Mr. Melville Talbot.
Sure, that is very beneficial. I've thoroughly enjoyed what I've heard, and I've learned so much myself. I think the bottom line is one of these old commentaries come to mind that says, if you give a person a fish, you feed him for a day. But if you teach a person to fish, then he feeds himself for a lifetime. So I think if people can take away from tonight what has been shared and apply one or two items to their own lives and start making small adjustments and implement it, they will start reinventing themselves and be excited about waking up tomorrow to do things. So I think bottom line is, if you can't lead yourself, then you can't be expected to lead others. So best you look internally at what has come out tonight, apply one or two items to your own personal life and start making the difference. You know, that you blossom where you planted.
Bravo. Thank you so much for that. Mr. John Appiah, closing remarks?
Yes. So in closing, I really want to encourage every teacher listening to us that it will start from you. All right. I have been in situations where I've met with teachers, engineers, lawyers, and all that. And you realize that unfortunately, sometimes or most of the time, the confidence levels of even teachers sometimes is very low. And I just want you to understand, you are not a substandard human being. You're not a substandard professional. Your profession is important. Your profession makes a big difference. Okay. So we really need to beef up our self-confidence. We really need to beef up our self-confidence. And you know, I've been in situations where I've heard students expressing their opinions of the future, what they want to do with themselves in future. And somebody mentions something and then the teacher says that, hey, forget about it, because even me, I have not been able to do that. You know, the low self-esteem will even impact us even when we are teaching, and it will affect the students we are trying to empower. So I will greatly encourage every teacher listening to me. You are not substandard. You are not substandard to an engineer or to a politician or to a medical doctor or to a nurse. You are in a profession which is dignified, a profession that you have to also do your part to make it look even more dignified. Because at the end of the day, the doctor was taught by a teacher, the nurse was taught by a teacher, the engineer was taught by a teacher. So it means that you are a part of the success story. So let us not look down on ourselves. Let us not think that because our pay, you know, sometimes we use our salaries and our pay as a way of, modeling our self-confidence. But go beyond that fact. You don't model your self-confidence according to how much you are paid, but according to the knowledge you have and the level of impact and significance you bring to society. So let me encourage every teacher listening to me. We can make the difference. Let's be confident in our skills and our abilities and our talents. Let us not be close-minded. Let us continue to be open-minded. Let us continue to learn, add value to ourselves, adapt very important personal development skills that will help us to stand out and be different. And I'm sure that we will indeed be the difference in our society. Thank you all for this wonderful platform. I wish you all the best, and the best greetings from Ghana to all of you.
Thank you all. Thank you to our great panelists. You have really blessed us with so much, and we're going to go back to review what we have heard today. Now, I don't want us to forget the topic or the title of this module, which is Reinventing Yourself. So the question is, and would always be, who are you? I like the way the Frenchman says it when they want to ask what your name is. Comment tu t'appelles? When you translate that literally, it says, it means, what do you call yourself? And you answer, je m'appelle, which is I call myself. People will call you what you call yourself. We are teachers and we need to be confident about it. There is a very serious need to evolve as every other thing is evolving in education, and we will. So I want your take home today with all the things that you have learned is that question you need to answer before Module 2, which is coming up in August. And the question is, who am I? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for such a fantastic time that we have had here. See you next month as we continue on the Teachers Reinvention. Good night and God bless you all.